we're going to do a European horn mount. Start off is cut all that neck off and the lower jaw. All that stuff's got to come off. I try to stay well below the base of the skull. You know, even if you have to leave, you know, a little bit of the neck, that's better than, you know, cutting too much off and doing some damage to the skull part. There you go. Get what I can off. It just makes it easier on the boiling process. And get what you can off now. I've got everything. I've got X-Acto knives, got pliers, got things, you know, to help pull the tongue out. Lower jaw's got to come off. All that stuff. Got a pair of hemos, kind of help me hold stuff while I cut it off. All this comes off. I'm making sure not to hurt the skull in any way. But just kind of working away at it. I like to get the eyeballs out, the brains. You want to be careful because there's a socket in there too. You don't want to cut through any extra bone more than what you have to. Preferably a sharp knife to do this. You gotta have one on hand. Any places where you've got meat there, you know, they'll come off. Here in the back, there's still a lot. Back here. Just use your tools to get the job done. If you have to, a little brax might help you. I don't see anything wrong with doing that. Might help you grab stuff so you can pull it out better. All kinds of it. Just use everything at your disposal, and you'll have this guy done before you know it. It seems like right here at the base of the skull, that last, I guess the last spinal cord column, disc, I guess is the right word. It's like if you were doing a horn mount and you wanted to get all this stuff off. You know, remaining hair and all that stuff and skin up under the burrs. All that's going to come off. I've got a big old pot. It's big enough to submerge the whole skull. And that's what I'm going to use to boil my deer skull in. And what I want to do is bring boiling water to a boil. You know, if you put it on right now, I don't want to overcook it anyway because bones get brittle, teeth fall out, all that stuff. So I want to make sure it's already boiling real good before I add the sodium carbonate, which happens to be OxyClean. You want to add sodium carbonate to the water once it starts boiling. And it might not even be a bad idea to put the skull in first. But you want to use sodium carbonate. You can order it from the taxidermy supply, or you can get something like this. It's the same stuff. The only thing is this has got a little perfume in it. Other than that, it's got the same ingredients. Sodium carbonate. So that's what you need. Now I know there's a lot of other ways to do it. I've heard of them soaking in solutions and stuff like that. But boiling gets the job done good and quick and thorough. Oh, also made sure I put a hole going up to the brain. That way you know that solution is going to get up into the brain area and help you get all that stuff out. I can even do that before I boil. Let the boiling take care of what it can to make my job so much easier. I'll just install him in there. And I don't even worry about, if the bottom of the birds get a little bit bleached. I'll tell you how we fix that. That'll be later. If your water's getting a little bit low, I'll just throw a little bit more of this sodium carbonate in it. You want to be careful though, because it'll spill over. But it does rise it and get it where it needs to go. And I guess what I'm getting at, it does eventually end up covering the back of the skull. By adding either more water or more sodium carbonate. Kind of look at it and tell how it's submerging. And hopefully I didn't put too much, but that should just rise. And what it is I put the hole in the brain pan so it'll come out back there. And if I feel like it's going to spill over, I might have to raise it up for a little bit. What it does, it makes the meat just kind of fall off. You don't have to worry about all that hard cutting and trying to pull and all that stuff. It falls off. The only thing, you don't want to boil it too long because your teeth will fall out and all that stuff. So there's kind of a little bit of a back and forth between adding some of this stuff and adding more water. Now when you add this stuff, it makes it want to foam up, so you got to be careful. It'll foam up for a while and then eventually it goes back down. But you end up getting a real strong concentration of this stuff, and it really helps with getting the meat off. It's a lifesaver, in other words. And you can tell right there, it's boiling up pretty darn good. I'd let it boil like that for a little while, and depending on how hot your stove is, how much water you're using, everything kind of comes into effect. But I'll show you that you can take some meat off, leave the pot on, leave the heat on it and everything, pull him out and get off a lot of your meat, and it gives you a better idea what's going on. And it also probably helps, meat that may be in a hard spot to get to. If you take off what's already can come off, then it kind of exposes it to the heat and the sodium carbonate, and it'll help you do a better job. So a lot of times, as it's cooking, I'll take it out periodically, pull off what I can, and then let it finally do its job, and then go from there, and then take it out and pick off everything till it's nice and clean. So it's kind of a process. Okay, as I look at it, it's looking pretty darn good already, so I'm going to go ahead and get off what I can. A lot of that meat, see, it's kind of curling off. And then I'll return it back. Keep doing that until it's spotless. And without trying to do it too long and making the teeth fall out, or the skull itself will splinter. The bones are connected, but they will separate it, exposed to too much heat for too long. Well, as you can see, I've got all kinds of stuff. Use a big garbage can or something to put your stuff in, and start prizing it off. It also helps with the bleaching, I think the stuff does. The sodium carbonate. You see, watch this just. Well, it's coming off See all this just come off in one lump sum? There's some. That's just like what, 45 minutes or so? So you can see the advantage. Sodium carbonate. Up here up top, look at that. It just falls off. That stuff around the burrs that you usually have to carve off, heck, it just rolls off. See? A lot of people charge about $100 for these, and they get it. What I'm doing, I'm taking off what I can so other stuff sees that solution a little better. 1 or 2 more times and it'll be done, is what I'm getting at. So as I remove some of this stuff, using, you got real thin bone here. I'm going to be careful around this area. I'm going to continue with this, and I'll see you shortly. So I returned him back. I'm going to let him boil a little bit more. I added a little bit more water because it boiled out. And here in a little bit I'm going to put more sodium carbonate. And you just kind of switch out like that, and before long you'll have him done. Okay, here's what it looks like so far underneath. And most of the brain pans come out with the hemostats. You know, just big chunks of it. You'd be surprised what you could scoop out with a wire. And you'd be surprised what you could scrape off with a wire brush. So those are 2 other tools that I didn't mention earlier. But this was great for getting the brain pan out. Even better than the hemostats in certain ways. Of course, the hemostat could pull out chunks. So between both of them, the brain is pretty well out. And I'm about ready to put him back in the water. This should be the last time. I'm just going to put a little bit more of this. I put more water in it. Okay, I'm pretty sure I'm done. Looks pretty good on the back. Let's see what else we got here. Looks good everywhere else. All that underneath is already cleaned out. We're done. We're done with this step. This is super thin bone right here and there. And I don't like tearing that if I can keep from it, because it will show. And so that's one thing to be careful of. And I didn't boil it too long because the teeth are still in real good. And so that's a plus. It's still not really like it's supposed to look. And so now we're going to apply the bleach and do the bleaching process and do it maybe a day or so. Okay, what I've got here is went to Sally's Beauty Supply. That's where a lot of people tend to go to get their bleaching products. This is the cream. I know it contains a lot of concentrated hydrogen peroxide, which is a whole different beast compared to like hydrogen peroxide you get like from the pharmacy or something, you know, in a liquefied bottle. And this, I think it's just kind of like a thickening agent. I think this is actually more important than this, but I don't know. I don't try to dilute it with water or anything. It seems like it weakens it down. But basically what we're going to do, we're going to mix them both together. We're going to brush it on the skull and cover everything. And don't leave any spot uncoated. That's what I got here. Here's the gel-lock stuff. Then here's the powder type stuff. And the stuff is, you definitely don't want to breathe this. You don't want to get it in your eyes. you'll be in serious trouble. It really burns when you get it on your skin even. So just some things to think about. Cover everything back so I don't accidentally spill anything. And it's quite possible I gotta mix more. Okay, then I get this solution and I start putting it everywhere. I mean everywhere. I get it up under the burrs. Oops, got a little right on my arm right there. I'll be real careful with this stuff. So it looks like a small brush has its place. You can get it deep down in there. Wow. Right here in the nostrils here. You can get all up in there. Up in there. Small brush may be good. It has its advantages. See, all this washes right off of the water anyway. So yeah, you want to definitely get it up in there. Far back as it will go. Right back in here. Just everything. What it does, it just bleaches the bone. Makes it really white looking. Up under the burrs. All up in here, if you can tuck it up in there. A small brush comes in handy for this stuff. Completely get around the burrs. Just don't miss anything. And I know there's other ways to get the meat off, but I like boiling it because it seems like it helps in the whitening process a little. That chalky white, I think, comes, a little bit from letting it dry. I'm just very liberal with this stuff. I put it everywhere and then some. To be honest with you. Get up in here. With this stuff being thinner, it actually should and you know, you can repeat this process too. You'll do it a few more times. Go up under the burrs with this brush. Make sure that stuff gets up under there. Back here real good. All this right in here. Yeah, all this. Teeth on this side. And we get up underneath, all this stuff underneath. All this stuff down here. Everything helps. You want him as solid white as he can be. And yeah, he's a little bit too brown for me right now. I think I've got about the strongest stuff. I could be wrong. But I think it's about as strong as a person can get. They had some weaker stuff there, obviously. I always want to get the strongest I can get on this stuff because I don't want to really, mess around with it. Get that chalky white stuff all over it to make it look really, really white. Leave it just like that. Make sure you got it everywhere. I think I did a good job as far as that goes. Well, let's see what it looks like after it dries. So I'm just going to leave it like it is, and I'll get back with you a little bit later. Well, I've let it completely dry, and I let it sit for, oh gosh, about 12, 13 hours. Seems like letting it dry is the trick for this stuff. And I'm going to go ahead and rinse it off and show you what I've got. Now here's a panel I'm going to use, and just going to lay the deer skull right on there, center as good as I can. And I just want to say, a lot of people shoot a screw, try to hit somewhere up in here where there's a lot of thick bone, where you can hang, and I've done that too myself. But you can also glue a block of wood about right in here on the inside of the skull. And what I'll do is I'll just kind of clear me out a spot, insert a thin piece of wood, make it come down about this far, and you can actually shoot a screw into that wood, after you glue the wood in there, and that really holds your deer skull in place. Okay, cut me out a small piece of wood, in this case just plywood, but what I like to do is, before I glue this wood piece in there, I get rid of this little mid portion right here, and it comes out real easy. Just this little center piece. And what it does, it gives me a place to glue my thing. And basically right up in here, you just want to be able to kind of lay it. You glue it real good, or heck, even bond to it real good, as far as that goes. So basically what it does, I glue it real good and it sits up in here, like so forth. Be fine shape. Let my glue heat up, and we'll glue it in place on the bottom. Yeah, right in there. And then kind of, yeah, like that. There we are. And I might put a little bit more glue to reinforce it. Okay, well, I shot some glue in there. Real generous with it. You can see my wood piece is in there nicely, and we just let it dry in there. You can see where I stained the antlers a little bit. Well, I've got a little antler stain here. And I'm just kind of basically going over everything. I guess what I'm getting at is just watch out for excess. But, guess what I'm getting at is you can make it where it got bleached a little bit. Just go over it a few times and make sure you get far enough. Might have to go over it a few times. And I've actually not shook it up good. In other words, I left most of the dye for this antler stain still at the bottom of the ball even. And it's looking okay. I don't worry about getting under the burrs, but I will get right to the very end, Well, this isn't the knob locks or whatever. It's the stuff that Dan Chase used to sell. And it goes on, it used to go on purple, but I've had it a long time. But it used to go on purple, and when it dried, it would turn brown. But I've had it so long that it's lost its ability to even be purple. If that makes any sense. You want that stuff to collect in the grooves. That kind of helps to the realism. So you want that stuff to collect in the grooves as much as possible, that dark stain. But what I'm getting at is a customer will never even know. They'll never even piece it together that it was stained, that it was bleached at one time. You can go over it several times to darken it up too if you want to. Okay, I've kind of put a little bit of a scribe mark right here. What it is I put it on here like this, and I centered it real good, and then I put a scribe mark about where it'll catch the piece of wood real good and securely. And it happens to be above the screw that's used for attaching the centerpiece, for the wall mount. And you can kind of see my hole right here. But now I want to countersink it so the screw will bury up in there, the screw head, so it's not sticking out and interfering when I, place this on there. So, yeah, that's what we'll do next. And I can even use my Dremel tool for that. I've got the pieces. Well, on second thought, I'll just use my drill since it's convenient. Basically, all I do is use an oversized drill bit. Just kind of good enough. What I think I'll do is go ahead and shoot this through. Now this is just a screw for this. There we are. Get that started. Let's hold that. In here. Oh yeah, wood glue. There's some real good wood glue out there. Really good for this stuff too. Yeah, that's loose a little bit. Okay. Tighten it up so good where it barely wants to move. And that's fine. Right. That's tight. Okay. Still gives me room to shoot the screw for deer school. So about like a 3-inch screw here, and believe it or not, I think it's good enough where it's not going to stick to the top of the skull cap. So I'm going to kind of get it started there. I'm going to center this guy. And center him like how I want him. I'm more worried about centering him like that. What it means. That's holding it pretty good. Yeah, that's holding real good. Now you just put the last piece on. And go hang like that. It should be pretty darn secure because what you got. Hold on, let me get a hanger and put on here. Here's kind of what I got done. It really seems like it starts bleaching better as it starts to dry. Seems like that's when everything starts getting really white. If you wanted, you could put another screw back there where that thick bone is behind the back of where I used to put them. But they'd be so fragile. I mean, it wouldn't take much of a bump and they'd knock off and drop on the ground and probably shatter because they've already been boiled, so it's already weak. All that stuff's kind of weak anyway. I got a chance to shake a antler sting a little bit better. So that'll help. And see, that antler sting collects around all these burrs and everything. Helps add to the realism. So you kind of want it to kind of collect around that stuff a little bit. Adds to the realism is what I'm getting at. But this is the way I do a European horn mount. Good luck with it and have fun.